Renowned Nobel laureate Tagore once said, "The touch of an infinite mystery passes over the trivial and the familiar, making it break out into ineffable music. The trees, the stars, and the blue hills ache with a meaning which can never be uttered in words." Welcome to Sapient Podcast. Our today's guest is a well known bassist in the band Toadies, Mr. Doni Blair. His journey through music and his philosophy will inspire you and push you to do your best to be the best in the field that you are in. He is also a martial artist. So let's welcome our guest, Doni. Thank you, Donnie, for being my guest in this podcast.
Oh,
Really appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Last time when we spoke, I was really fascinated by the thought process that you have, which, as you
Okay.
mentioned, that matches with Mark's a lot as well, because you guys are best friends.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so this
There's
is
the
really,
reason.
yeah. So this is a really good opportunity for me to learn more about the musics actually and your journey, because
Okay.
uh, you have been in music with music for very long time. So how it actually started for you?
My father was a disc jockey, and so that's what he did by trade. So he and my mom were huge music fans. So my brother and I always had music in our house. One of my earliest memories is hearing Led Zeppelin as a baby, I think, it was just always around us. And when my brother and I became, I think I was probably about 13, we started playing bass and guitar. And I wanted to play drums, but there's no way my old man was going to buy me a drum set. So he talked me into playing bass. He and my brother did.
Okay.
And so my brother and I would I got like a kind of just a beater bass that my dad bought me. And my brother and I just we always shared a room. So we'd sit across from each other and just teach each other. He would learn something, show me. I would learn something, show him. It could be he would learn a Cream song, I would learn an Iron Maiden song, or we would just listen to everything we could on records and then go back and try to figure it out ourselves, just to try to train our ears, pretty much. And we knew then we didn't have great technical ability at that point. We had pretty good ears. We were able to figure stuff out fairly quickly, but we also knew that it was going to take a lot of hard work to get where we wanted, and we had no problem with that work aspect. Like, oh, that's what you have to do to be good at something. So we were blessed with this ability to hear. Okay, we figured out what the wrong note was, so it led us to the right note. If we're learning a riff or learning a song or something. So that was kind of our advantage, that and an ability to work and just keep going and keep going and keep going, which we still have to this day.
Okay. So I think I have to kind of take you back a little, what you actually said also.
Okay.
So when you said your father was a disc jockey, what do you mean by that?
Mhm. I apologize. Over here, so now they have DJs, they call them. So he was a radio disc jockey. So he
Right.
would work at night and just play anything he wanted. And he was blind in his right eye.
Okay.
And pardon me. So he was able to just, because of that disability, they sent him to radio announcer school, basically like a broadcasting school for free.
Okay.
And he was That's what he did the entirety of mine and my brother's life up until he passed in '91. He was a disc jockey, and
Okay.
he would just bring home records for us. He turned us on to so many great bands like, Zeppelin and AC/DC and The Who. It's still our favorite band in the world, mine and my brother's. Oingo Boingo, it didn't matter. He just turned us on to so much great music. And so we got our love of music and um, our ability to go listen to different things from our dad, and not
Okay.
just judge something. We had a really, really wide area of influences and not just rock. Or, my mom loved soul music like the OJs and Al Green and Stevie Wonder. And so we listened to that stuff as well, from her. And we were just taught to not turn anything away, to like love all music. Music is the best. So it's like, my dad said, if you two are going to start doing this for real, you need to listen to everything. You'll get something from anything, regardless if you like it or not. He's like, if you like bluegrass or don't like bluegrass, don't care, listen to it. There's some good stuff there. Same with jazz, country, anything. You've got to be serious about this. So
Sure.
we had their 100% support, in that, which was great.
That's amazing. So when you grew up, what kind of music you were more acquainted with?
Um, well, growing up with mom and dad, it was, hard rock. Like I said, AC/DC or Zeppelin, The
Okay.
Who, always The Who, Pink Floyd. But then, because we were kids, we got into our own stuff,
Right.
and we discovered Metallica and Slayer and Black Flag and punk rock, and then just kind of shot off into that area for a long time, a
Okay.
long, long, long. And that's what we started playing originally
Okay. So
because it was easy.
would you actually say that because you grew up with hard rock, you had a you had an ear for rock music instead of anything else, any other kind of music?
Oh, yes, yeah. It was, but we were also turned on to classical music as well earlier.
Okay.
So we had HBO, and they started showing Amadeus on HBO. So my brother and I watched that and became obsessed, and are still obsessed with Mozart to this day. Still, huge obsession with classical music and especially Mozart in particular. But so it was just, it informed us, but our basic was hard rock. And we just liked things with energy, and it wasn't just any hard rock. We weren't necessarily into things like, they had to have an aggression to them. And I think that comes from my brother and I, just the way we are. We were born with ADD, you could say. So anything with aggression, we were into. We
Okay.
had yeah, it had to be up tempo. The Police, that, or Iron Maiden or Metallica, something like that. To us, we had to have that driving kick drum. We had to have that driving beat.
Okay.
Bon Jovi wasn't going to do it for us.
All right.
Clint
Okay.
Black or Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, that wasn't going to do it. It had to be The Who or Zeppelin or Yes, Rush,
Right.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So there are a couple of questions that are coming to my mind right now. One
Great.
is how you uh what should I say? So the rock music and all different types of musics are out there. And how do you define rock music compared to the closest match of rock music? How do you differentiate as well?
Gosh, you touched upon a good subject, but we could be here for hours if I go in subgenres.
I think you can actually do that.
uh,
I mean, if you
um,
if you want to.
well, okay. Here's how I think of it. I was having this discussion with my brother Zach Blair. And I always say we because my brother and I are like this. We talk every day. He's my best friend on the planet, other than my wife. Those two are are my life, you know,
That's
my
awesome.
wife and my brother. And we talk every day. And he's the guitar player in a band called Rise Against. They're really big band, humongous band. They're making a record right now.
Okay.
And we talk every morning. And we were talking the other day about bands. And to us, the formation of rock and hard rock and heavy metal and all these other things, to my brother and it's three major bands. Now, everyone can disagree with us, and that's fine. This is just our opinion. But we believe that it's the Beatles are number one. Everything kind of came from the Beatles. They broke it all over, you know. Um, After them is Black Sabbath, you know, for metal. Pretty much, there are subgenres of metal. There's doom, there's thrash, there's death metal, there's whatever. But it pretty much started with Sabbath. They might say it didn't start with them. It did, you know. And then you've got the Ramones for punk. So you combine all of those, and those are where your other genres are, you know. There's melodic metal. Okay. Then you're combining the Beatles and heavy metal. There's melodic punk rock, Beatles and the Ramones, you know. Ramones and Black Sabbath, you get, you know, speed metal, Motorhead, that kind of a stuff, you know. And then you can go from there. So that's kind of our little thesis.
Okay.
But as far as subgenres, there's so many that you can do. You know, there's this metal pretty much, and from that there's the thrash metal. There's speed metal, which is basically the same. There's prog metal. You're looking at bands like Voivod and Dillinger Escape Plan, and you know, bands like Opeth, which I don't know where they are on that whole thing, you know, or Meshuggah. The same way with punk rock. There's, you know, gosh, there is street punk. There's regular punk. There's melodic punk like Descendants, you know. And some of the bands that are huge these days, like Blink 182 and Green Day, look at this band, the Descendants is their biggest influence. But the biggest influence on the guys from the Descendants are, wait for it, the Beatles and the Ramones. So it all goes back, you know, to basically these three bands. To me, it does.
So basically, Beatles are the one who actually started the rock genre.
So, I believe, like, if you're talking rock and roll, that would be Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, you know, Little Richard, and those guys.
Okay.
Um, but before them was country, pretty much, and country and bluegrass kind of came together to make rockabilly, which is what Elvis sprang from, you know. And there's also so much gospel in there, and it was just everyone's influences. But the Beatles were listening to Little Richard. They were listening to Elvis. They were doing covers of that stuff. And I'm sure there were bands like them at that point in time. They were just the ones that had the looks, the ability, and the songs. And they were able to do it themselves and write their own songs. That's what a lot of people didn't do. Elvis did not write his own songs. Cliff Richard did not write his own songs, you know. Um, Not a lot of the people that were that big wrote their own songs, but the Beatles did. So they kind of just broke a lot of barriers for everyone and then became the biggest thing on the planet, you know?
Okay. So how, uh, I think if I'm understanding it correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that it used to be, I'm looking at the history. It used to be country music and some of the bluegrass, you said?
Yes. Yeah.
Bluegrass music. And then I think with the change of time, people wanted something upbeat. And that's how the rock and roll came into exist.
I believe so. They kind of, they were used to country. They had already gone through the big band era. You know, kids had loved that. And then they got to the whole crooner section with Frank Sinatra. And I think just kids in the 50s were kind of had made it, you know, their parents had made it to the war. You know, it was just a
Right.
cool time. And then this guy came out with the hips and the hairdo
Right.
and all that. But Elvis was raised on gospel music
Yes.
and church
Yeah. Yeah.
music, and not just he would go to the black church pretty much like on. He would go to white church. He would just love the church music, period. And African Americans, the way they sang and played, he loved gospel music. That was informed in it. It's based on the same thing. A lot of it is 1/4/5, same as the blues, same as country.
Okay.
But he just ended up speeding it up. The same as Johnny Cash. It's a lot of that Sun
Right.
Records stuff. Johnny Cash had the same influences as him. He just leaned in a more of a country aspect, and Elvis took it more of a left way and went to rock and roll. But they're
Sure.
basically the exact same influences. Johnny Cash could have been Elvis. Elvis could have been Johnny Cash for all anyone. Like if either of them had done anything differently, just Elvis was Elvis. Look at him. He was
Of
a
course.
way better looking man than Johnny Cash.
Got
And I
it.
love Johnny Cash, but you know, he wasn't going to make millions of girls swoon, like
Right.
Elvis was.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now coming back to you again, you
Yeah.
said that you and your brother, you both had a really good ear for music.
Yes. Yes.
So getting to a little bit of science of that.
Okay.
So I heard of perfect pitch and relative pitch. That people who can
Yes.
actually listen to the rhythm and understand it either perfectly and repeat it, or relative pitch is not so much, but can get the idea of
Yes.
those things. So if you can unpack that.
Oh yeah. I don't have perfect pitch. Neither my brother or I do. But I would say we're somewhere between perfect and relative at that point. We can damn near hear something and recreate it almost perfectly. There might be a couple of
Oh,
different notes
okay.
here. At this point, it's also because we've been doing it for 40 years. So
Of course.
you know the way something is going to work within the context of your instrument. You know how it's going to be placed upon your fingerboard and how you're going to play it correctly. You know it's going to be some form of, you're going to have certain options, scalar options. It won't be crazy alien music,
Right,
you
right.
know. But even back then, we were able to do that. We were able to hear a lot of things and then just kind of recreate them. They wouldn't be perfect, but they would be pretty damn close. But I still can't say if somebody plays an F sharp. I'm not going to tell you it's an F sharp. I have no clue. I'll have to look at the note, hear the note, and then figure it out on my
Sure. Got it.
instrument to figure that out. I don't have that. Um, but recreating things and learning that it's a that's something that we are pretty good at.
Okay. Yeah, so which actually means that that kind of ear and that kind of exposure to music already puts you almost like about within 30% of the people in the world, within the 30%.
Wow.
Yeah, because not
Okay.
perfect pitch actually has, I think, about 10% of, I think, sorry, in among 10% of all musicians do have perfect pitch. But
Okay.
relative pitch is, are broader because, and you are in between relative and perfect. So means that you are probably fall
Yeah.
between 20 to 30% of all musicians,
Wow.
which is
Okay.
pretty great. I mean, and it shows with your complete life story as well with music.
It's something that we've had to, I think at this point, it's something that's been developed because of experience.
Of course.
And when you get to the bands my brother and I are in, it takes a certain amount of professionalism. You're expected to know the tune. Or if you learn something, if my singer Vaden, he has perfect pitch. That kid has perfect pitch. Yeah, that guy's voice is insane. His ear is insane. The things he hears, that it's a pretty neat thing being in the band with that guy. And if he plays me something, I've got to recreate it fairly quickly, to keep the ball rolling. There's a certain level of proficiency that it's expected in my band that we all expect of each other. It's not just him. I expect it of him. I expect it of our guitar player, our drummer. They expect it of me. We all expect it of each other to be at a certain level and not just be lazy. So it's kind of like, here's the riff. Oh, got it. And that's something that I had to learn whenever I got in the band. So that was something I had to develop pretty damn quickly.
Okay,
you
okay.
know, yeah,
So that's a definitely a completely another level of skill that you actually have
yeah,
developed, because that
it's
kind of thing,
different.
especially with the catching the music and develop it, so that you can be in the unison with everybody else. That's something, another level of skill. So I was wondering this, that um, when you do develop these kind of things, these kind of catching up and try to
Mhm.
don't lose the tempo or don't lose the rhythm at the same time, do you always practice it beforehand, or it actually sometimes happens instantaneously on stage?
I believe if you you come prepared. Like there's the saying, there is no first day of tour, which means a lot of bands, they're if they're going to have like a 3 month tour, sometimes they'll give themselves about a week, to really warm up to things. And my band does not do that. We practice very hard, and we've been playing together for. I've been in the band 16 years now. Um, they've been together over 30 years, so there's a lot we don't have to do, but we don't like to just kind of just like, oh, we'll be fine. We don't do that at all. So we want to make sure that we're rehearsed well. We know the sound. We know the set list well. We know our guitar changes well. We know everything is mapped out. So that way, when we show up for the first day of a tour, um, the crowd isn't saying like, oh, it's the first day. These guys need to get their sea legs under them. That's crap to do to people. But in the same sense, it's kind of crap for me to do that to my band. We have a couple of days rehearsal. They expect me to know the tunes, so I start rehearsing usually 2 weeks beforehand, just to make sure that it's under my hands and I don't have to think about it. Because if I don't have to think about it, it's going to be more natural. If I have to think about it, then I'm trying and it's going to be forcing it, and they can tell. We can all tell when the other guys who know has practiced. And so we don't like to do that. So we always come prepared. And if you're a professional musician, you've got to be a professional musician. It is a job. You show up prepared. It's not a lot of man, it's music, bro. It's cool. We're all having a great groovy time. Nah, screw that. We don't do that.
Sure.
It's it's a lifestyle, and again, the fans show up. They pay a lot of money to come see us. So if we take a lackadaisical approach, they might take a lackadaisical approach and not show up. Like, well, these guys don't care. Why should I care? Why should I support them? But they know we show up. We show up to play. We play very well. And I think in the 16 years I've been in the band, I can count maybe 3 shows we've had that might have not have been great. Other than that, everything has been way past what we set the bar all the time. So
Okay.
we put a lot on ourselves. So it's
Okay.
long answer. Sorry, Sam.
No, it's actually really good, because not only you answered the question, but you also unpacked a very important part of any work, but definitely for music as well, which is
Mhm.
you have to have the love, you have to have the passion, you also have to have the talent, but all those things together doesn't really match up to the work that you have to put in. And that's always the case.
Yeah, it's not just one thing. Any band that's huge will tell you they got there from work. You know, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters would agree with me 100%. You know, he's had great opportunities that he's been able to grab, but that's because he put so much work in beforehand. He was able to get the Nirvana gig in the first part because he had put so much work on his performance and his drumming. You know, he had worked at it and worked at it. And from that point forward, he just kept taking it to where he is now, and he doesn't stop. It's the same as with my brother and myself. When my brother got offered the Rise Against gig, he took it because they saw that Zach had the work ethic. He had the same mentality. He had a great stage show. How he acted, they knew the way he played was going to be perfect. Because he works at it. He still works at it. I still work at what I do. Just because I got the Toadies gig doesn't mean I'm just, I don't have to worry about it. Nah, I practice. I just got done practicing about 20 minutes before we started this because we have another gig coming up in a few days that we're
Okay.
flying in for. So I want to make sure I'm prepared for it, you know?
All right. So now coming back to your journey again, when
Yes,
you
sir.
started, when you started learning.
1985.
Okay.
I didn't want to, like I wanted to be a drummer, and I didn't want to be a bass player like Bill Wyman. You know, they just stood there and barely did anything.
Okay.
And I like Bill Wyman from the Rolling Stones now. He's a great player, but as a dummy kid, I didn't want to be that. And my dad played me this song by the band Yes called Long Distance Runaround. And the bass on it is just incredible bass playing by their bass player, Chris Squire. And I was like, wait, can I do that? And he goes, yeah, you can play that. You can learn it. I'm like, okay. So put me down for bass. I'm going to do that. And then I just got into, Geddy Lee from Rush, John Paul Jones, and then it led to Cliff Burton and Jaco Pastorius and even Charles Mingus, and it just kind of sent me on this nerd bass journey. I can nerd out about bass guitar for forever.
So at that time you
I'll be
were.
here all day.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
So I was
no, sir.
wondering that at that time you were in your high school.
I was in middle school. I hadn't started high school yet. It was 1985, so I was 13.
Okay.
It was in eighth grade. I was in middle school.
Okay. So you started learning, and then when your professional, music life started, did it interfere with
Oh,
your study, or did it actually started
oh,
after you finished your study?
kind of the same. High school sucked for me, and it sucked for my brother as well. We were long hairs, which there were a lot of long hairs in our school, but we didn't smoke or do drugs. So the majority of the long hairs or stoners, they would party, but my brother and I didn't party. So we were outcasts from them. We were outcasts from the preppy kids. We were outcasts, period. So all we had were our guitars. And a lot of school was easy, you know. It was I loved history. I hated math. I barely passed math just because I hated it. History I didn't have to study because I would just read it. It was like a book to me.
Oh,
So
wow.
that I was, and I passed. I graduated finally. Eventually I got it. I got to graduate with my class and stuff. But music helped me be able to get through that because I would just, my brother and I would get picked on, and my parents taught us not to take any. Pardon me for swearing, but don't take anyone's shit. It wasn't um, brush your teeth at night, do your homework. It was don't take anybody's shit. They were just prepping us for the world, I think, because they knew the world was going to be a very, very harsh place,
Right.
and they didn't want their sons um, to take it. They wanted us to carve our own future. They're like, don't give what anyone's handing out to you. If they're telling you to do something, you don't have to do it, you know. And so people would push us around and start throwing hands. And then I was a skinny little white kid, so I got my butt kicked so many times, But so it was that, and just getting picked on, going home and playing music, and trying to learn, something by the Beatles, listening to Paul McCartney's bass, or listening to Iron Maiden or anything. It made the day okay. Like, okay, I can do this one more day. I can go back to school, And once I got out, I decided to start. I did a year and a half of community college doing music theory. So just trying to study that. But then my dad passed away. So I was just like, any kind of learning. My brain was not in. And my brother and I, at that point, got more busy with our band, Hagfish, and just kind of left. And that was kind of like that's when life really started for us.
Okay. Okay. So how do you actually started your journey with toadies?
Oh, okay. Well, I've known them since, gosh, 92, 93. There was one gig, Hagfish played with them, and the only people in the audience were Hagfish when they were playing, or like them when we were playing, and then us when the Toadies were playing. We just stayed to watch each other's show. No one cared, about either of our bands at that point. We were fans of theirs. Um, and my brother had been in a band, the Burden Brothers, with Vaden, our singer, after the Toadies broke up for a number of years. And I heard that they were going to be auditioning bass players. And so I contacted them through MySpace. This is how long ago it was. And they got back to me and said, yeah, it's a pick gig and all downstrokes. Is that cool? I said, it's totally cool. And it wasn't cool. I played with my fingers, not a pick. I didn't know how to play with a pick at all.
Okay.
I lied through my teeth. So, but that was one of the things, like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to start playing with a pick. And I think I had about a month, maybe a month and a half before the audition to learn how to play with the pick. And I would work at my job at that point, go home, and then rehearse for another 2 hours and practice with the pick, just going back and forth. Any kind of song I could. It would be the Toadies songs, Ramones, Beatles. It didn't care. Anything with a pick, and I would just try to get that in my hand, so that way it wasn't just, oh, I can play Toadies songs with a pick, but I can't play anything else with a pick. I couldn't think that way. I had to make my mind where I could play anything but with a pick. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Not just one separate thing. If it was just one type of song with a pick, they're going to see through that. So I had to learn how to play with a pick. I had to start all the way back over my fundamentals and my major scales, my minor scales, everything, and
So
just
how long
retrain my
that
brain
took?
with a pick. I'm sorry?
How long that took?
Yeah, it took about a month and a half. I had to get that going.
Okay.
And it was just every day. I would set up a click track like a metronome
Right.
and just do that way to make sure my consistency was okay. And it was very, 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 sweat inducing. It was nerve wracking for that full 6 weeks. And then when I finally got to go do the audition, um, I couldn't believe it sounded good. And then I couldn't even believe that they gave me the gig. I was like, I'm not going to get this gig whatsoever. I know I'm not going to get it. They're going to see through me. And they didn't. And I didn't tell them that I didn't know how to play the pick for a while. Because Clark was like, I'm kind of surprised you showed up. Why? He goes, because you were a finger guy. How long had you been playing with a pick? I was like, oh man. I learned about a month and a half before, like whenever I got the call back to do the audition. You didn't play with a pick? Nope. But you told us you did. No. I lied through my teeth. I'm not going to turn that opportunity down. Come on, Like all I got to do is put in some extra work. Okay.
Yeah.
And if I do, I might get this. And so if I hadn't have, I wouldn't be here right now. If I hadn't just put in that extra time, it was just a couple of hours a day and just really trying to think about the process and how to get better. If I hadn't have done that, who knows what I would be doing right now,
Got it. Okay. That's So, coming back to that same thought process again, that you put your work in the field that you actually didn't really knew before,
Yeah,
using the pick in the bass, and then you
yeah,
actually got into that position where you got the gig, and now you are with them for 16 years.
yes, yeah, and just from work, and anyone, if they just push themselves in any endeavor, I think that you want to do, it's hard to get there. And I know that I'm doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu right now. It's the hardest thing in the world, but I know if I push harder, I'll get better where I want to be. Anyone, any kind of thing that they want, if they want to be a better ditch digger, my parents were like, my brother and I didn't put any kind of expectations on us what we wanted to do. I asked them if I could, what they wanted me to be. They were like, "That's the stupidest question you've ever asked us." It doesn't matter. What do you want to be? Because my friends were bitching. Oh, my parents want me to go to college. They want me to be a doctor like my old man. So I thought my mom and dad wanted the same. They're like, no, it's not our life. What do you want to be? Oh, well, I want to be a musician. I want to be a musician. Like, really? Yeah. But what if that doesn't work out? Then be a ditch trigger, but be the best ditch trigger. We don't care what you are. Be the best at it. Be good. Be passionate. Be focused on it. They didn't care what we did. We just had to be good at it, you know?
That kind of upbringing also helps significantly.
Yes.
As you actually just mentioned, compared to you and your some of your friends who had a very different type of thought process, and
Yeah.
that kind of upbringing where you have been pushed to follow your passion, but also was taught to work hard and be the best in whatever the passion that you are following, meaning that
Mm-hmm.
passion is not only just as a side gig. If you are actually
Yes.
following, you have to be some completely focused. So that's a really good thing to learn from for a lot of people out there, especially as you actually really mentioned. It's so true that people who actually do different types of arts, and many of them are pretty good, but they think that it's the talent that actually is there, it's the freedom of mind and all those things. uh
Yeah. It's not.
right, it's so much work on that.
I know people who are not good musicians at all, and they are millionaires. They do fantastic. They do well because they were in the right place at the right time and they worked their asses off. They still worked hard.
Right.
Then again, I know guys who are fantastic musicians who have to go get a job, and they're complaining and bitching this other person, like, well, that guy's not that good. Like, yeah, but that guy who's not that good was still able to sleep on someone's couch for a year and a half straight, to go without a shower for 5 weeks, to figure out he only had enough money he could put enough money for gas in the van to get to the next gig or eat a hot dog. He chose the gas in the van to get to the next gig, you know? So that's where a lot of it is, and the professionals, they want to work with those people. You can learn how to do this. You can learn how to play and be proficient. You cannot learn how to work hard at it. Hard work is just comes from in here. Being able to play bass, being able to play guitar, those are mechanical skills. You can learn that. You can do your scales and look at an A versus an A sharp. Your brain can record that and put it in your ears like, okay, this is this. I'm going to do this. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. What is incredibly hard is the drive to do it. Like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to go without for as long as it takes to do this. That's way, way, way harder. So those people who are millionaires who may not be as technically proficient as other people, well, they've worked a hell of a lot harder than the people who are just master players and master musicians, the people who do have perfect pitch.
Right.
You know, there are more people with perfect pitch not on a huge stage than there are the opposite. You know what
That's
I
true.
mean? Huge talent doesn't mean you're going to get there. You know, you've got to have a work ethic within any artistic or any kind of. I think same with sports, same with martial arts. You can be a fantastic, naturally gifted athlete, but um, there's that kid that may not be as gifted as that person, but they're willing to be there and work every single day on their speed, on anything they need to. They're the ones that are going to make it, and they're the ones that the talent scouts see. Oh, this kid will put in the hard work. That kid's had it handed to him because he's naturally gifted. So we're going with this kid. You know, anything. I think hard work wins over natural talent any day.
Right. So completely agree with that. You actually said something else when you started talking about this, this explanation about the hard work. You said that being in the right place at the right time. So that's kind of sounded like a little bit of luck is actually important. Now,
Yep.
considering that, do you think that a person should make his own luck, or is it the chances that are out there that should fall, which is not really under anybody's control?
That's a good question. Because I've seen both. I've seen things that have happened with great luck, but I've also seen things where you've made your own luck. My brother, for instance, he got his gig with Rise Against. We were opening for them. We had a band called Only Crime, and the drummer of the band was Rise Against's producer. His name is Bill Stevenson. He's in two hugely influential punk bands, Black Flag and The Descendants. Um, and in our world, it's like someone that was in Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. Jesus Christ, really? You know, that kind of a thing. That's how big it is. And so we were in a band with Bill. We were opening for Rise Against. And my brother, like, they needed a guitar player, and they had already toured with my brother. They knew him very well. They knew what kind of person he was. Um, and a couple of them were in Austin visiting. They had family. So he met up with them. And it's like, did he create that situation? No. The situation was that they needed a guitar player. Zach was in the right place at the right time. But if Zach hadn't done all of the other things he did, like practice night and day, you know, go without food for, you know, days on end because he couldn't afford it, you know, just because he was a broke musician, all the crappy jobs he took so he could still go out on tour, all the endless hours. He was in that band Guar for 4 years, and that really helped his chops. Every single thing he did got him to that point, you know, to the point where they said, the gig is yours. Like, okay, you know, and they knew he deserved it. He knew he deserved it. And both parties knew that he could pull it off from all of his experience. And it's worked wonders. It's been fantastic. He's so happy. He's been the happiest of his life for 17, 18 years now because it's a great band. And they immediately made him feel like family, you know, not like a new guy or anything. Immediately he got in. Bam, he was one of them. But they knew that he deserved to be there, you know, and that was because of his past experience. You know, it he did create those opportunities, but it was also luck that put him. I mean, it was a good lucky shot, but they could have said, "Hey, we're gonna try you out." You know, if he didn't have the past experience or the ability, he might not have been able to pull it off. You know, same as with my thing. There were guys that tried out for my gig who were good pick players, fantastic players. I know a few of the guys that had auditioned, and they're fantastic players. So what they saw in me, I don't know what they saw in me. I have no idea why I got. You know, there were guys who've been playing with the pick far longer than me. So maybe they could tell that I was going to be the guy that would be up late at night practicing, doing it. And I'd already had touring experience too. I knew them. I had toured all over the world, literally at that point. So I already came with experience. I came with a can-do attitude. I loved the band. I knew the material. So it was being in the right place at the right time that I heard about it. But then did I create those situations on my own? Yes, because I created my own experience and I was prepared for them.
Right. So, right. This is also true. So one question would be that, do you believe that if by any chance at that time toadies were not hiring somebody, would you still be at a place with some other opportunities?
Oh, yeah. I would still be playing. I don't know the level I would be playing. I will always be playing.
Of
I love surf music. So I had a surf instrumental band then. I have one now. This Friday, I play a show Thursday in San Antonio. And when I fly back Friday, I have a show with my surf band that night at a bar. And it's just, I like to be playing all the time. So, I mean, if Vaden decides tomorrow, like, okay, I don't want to do the band anymore, that will suck, but I'm still going to be playing.
right.
I won't, I will always work, but I'm always going to be playing music. I can't not play bass or play music. It's just one of those things that I have to have in my life. It doesn't matter the level of it. If it's in 5,000 people or 50 people, as long as I'm playing. And it's not to be in front of a crowd. I don't care about that. I don't care about performing. It's being on a stage with 3 to 4 other people and having that back and forth, that invisible kind of, I don't want to say the word magic because I'm not a hippie, but but it is a certain kind of a chemistry when you're coming together, and whenever you're all professionals and when you're good musicians, it's just so easy, and it's just a great feeling to have. So that's what I crave whenever I play, especially with the Toadies. I have that. There's just 3 incredible musicians, and we read each other's minds. If someone messes something up, the other 3 back them up without even thinking about it. It's that kind of a thing. So that's what I love about playing music is coming with people that you didn't grow up with. You don't really know these people inside and out. Yes, you've been in a band with them for a long time, but you don't really know each other 100%. Yet you can come together on stage or in a rehearsal room or in the studio and make fantastic music together and make it sound great. That's a skill. That's a really special thing to be able to have that ability to do.
So you actually really enjoy the togetherness and the
Yes.
exchange of not only thoughts, but also trying to understand each other without talking about so
Yes.
many things, in so many words,
Yeah.
and also at the same time enjoy music for your own, but not for a lot of other people. Like it's actually comes with the territory, of course, that people
Yes.
actually likes it, but you really wanna. It's not for you probably. It's also for probably most of the musicians that they
Mm-hmm.
actually would like to enjoy that kind of environment, whereas
Yes.
it actually creates a kind of a transcendental experience for themselves. Uh,
Yes. It can be. Yes. It's you have your performers and you have people who are great on stage, but they get that thing from having 1,000 to however many people yelling and screaming at them, and that can be an addictive narcotic, man. To all you're doing is walking on stage with your guitar. That's it. And then a place that's packed is screaming because you walked on stage. You didn't do anything, you know? So all you're doing is playing your instrument. And people are, okay, whatever. You know, they're not, I mean, the zine for me is playing and playing well with my drummer, Mark Rosencheck. He and I becoming a great rhythm section. Hearing these nuances between my guitar players, Clark and Vaden, you know, and hearing my singer's voice and having it all work. And we're not thinking about it. We're just doing it. And then that creating a reaction from the crowd. Once we do that well, and then that gets a huge applause and that gets screams, that is what's nice. If you do this together correctly, then you get a good response. That's intoxicating. Not just being on stage. You have to earn that applause. You have to work for that response. I think you shouldn't get it just because you're on stage with a guitar. Nah.
So, but that actually comes from within, meaning that, okay, so if I actually give you an example that I just kind of starting to compare with, and you can actually tell me that whether that's a good analogy. So
Okay.
when the stars are born, and
Yes.
I'm not talking about stars here, I'm talking about real stars like sun and other celestial stars. So
Okay.
the stars actually generate a lot of energy within, a lot of
Hmm.
fission going on. And that actually
Yes.
creates that light and that heat. And gravity as well, which actually kind of draws, but star is actually not doing it to draw something else, but it actually draws all these planetary bodies around it, like the sun did. And some of the planets are actually in a place that it can actually supports life, and we actually like sun but at a certain distance, because too close is not good.
Bad. Not
Yeah.
good.
So from this but from our side, without the sun there is no life
Yeah.
for human beings. So what I'm trying to say is that all these planetary bodies, all these audiences, they are being uh, drawn to your uh, to the creation that you are making on the stage at that time.
Yes. Yes.
But for you guys, you are actually creating this because for your own self transcendence and
Yes.
the experience that you are having. So that
Yes.
energy is just drawing everybody else towards you.
Yes. And that is a fantastic analogy. It's that, and it's none of us got into it to to be adulated. Not one in my band, not me, not my brother. We didn't get into playing music to be for the adulation. It was to play, and because we knew that's what was in our heart and what we wanted to do, and we were willing to do what we had to for that. Same as with the Toadies. It's just something they did. They loved playing music, and music at that point. You know, Todd Vaden, our singer, that's how he was able to express himself. You know, his songs were, and it just so happened that people ended up loving those songs. So then he all of a sudden had a record deal. Then they had a million selling album. Then they had a career. He's like, shit, well, what do I do now? You know, he fell into it basically, you know, and our drummer, Mark, he had a college degree. So he was working. Lisa Umbarger, their bass player at the time, she was a teacher. She had a college degree. So everybody was professionals. They were giving this music thing a try to see. It ended up working out for them, but it wasn't anything that they were like, oh, let's start a band and be huge rock stars. Let's go and sell a million records. It was like, no, we love the Pixies and the Talking Heads and ZZ Top. Let's just do a band like that. Let's just go play some cool music. Then it snowballed into what it is today, you know. But it came from a thing of just wanting to express themselves, and then eventually finding the audience that understood it. So it was,
Yes.
yeah, but it was that from within, and people were drawn to it.
Right. Yes. That's so amazing.
That's
So
a great analogy, Sam. It is. It's good. That's good.
yeah, it's probably that's why people are called stars because they do probably not in the same analogy, but they are called stars because they shine so bright and
Yeah.
draws people around. So
Yes.
now changing a gear a little bit. So basically, your passion or your new love for jiu-jitsu and martial art.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Mark's life or is very opposite in this experience, right? So he started his whole journey with martial
Yeah.
art, and now he's a musician as well.
Musician.
You are
Yep.
a martial artist. Sorry, you are a musician. Now you're a martial artist as well. So how that started?
Well, Mark and I want to switch places. I wish I had his skill in jiu-jitsu. He wishes he had had the experience that I've got in bass. But
Right.
I started doing taekwondo young, probably 9, 10 or so.
Really? Okay.
My brother and I got into ninja movies. It was the early
Of
80s. We
course.
loved
Yes.
the Von Erichs. We would watch wrestling every night. The movie that came out, The Iron Claw, about the Von
Right,
Erichs.
right.
They were our heroes. We watched them every Saturday night. So, I would jump off the couch and, body slam my brother. He would jump on me. Then we got into ninja movies. We wanted to be ninjas. So we
Right.
started doing taekwondo. And then we got up. We were away from getting our blue belts. We got up to green. And, pardon me. But even back then, we would learn what we needed to learn, go home and practice our kicks, our punches, our forms. We've always been this way. We were doing something. Our parents were putting hard earned money. We didn't have a lot of money. So they put that into my brother and I, and they had to do that because we had ADHD. At that point, they just called us hyper, but yeah. And they were like, holy crap, let's give these kids something to focus on. So we focused on that, and it worked. But from that, we got a little older, like, it's kind of getting a little boring because, our attentions went into music. So we went from martial arts straight into music. But I always felt bad. I always wanted to go back to it. I loved it so much. It made me feel good. And a few years back, Cody's had some off time. We had a tour that got canceled on us, and it looked like we were going to be home for about 6 months. So I came home, and I was like, I think I'm going to try and get my black. I'm going to see how long this will take. I'm going to go back to Taekwondo. I always wanted to do this, so we'll just see. I'm going to start this journey. And I wrote about it, and I got a book called Even If It Kills Me on, you can get on Amazon and stuff like that. And I wrote about getting my black belt. I think I got it within 2.5 years. Um, but after that, then Taekwondo became something I didn't like for me. It was just, I love Taekwondo. I think it's amazing. So I would never and never will disparage Taekwondo. I think there's some great things I learned in it that I still use today in jiu-jitsu. But my friend Chad Smith, he was my tattoo artist, and he had just gotten his black belt in jiu-jitsu and had his school, Ghetto, where I train here in Amarillo. And he was like, come out and do jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to roll around with dudes. No way. He was like, quit being an asshole. Come out, be a man. Come roll on the mats. So I said, fine, fine, fine. He wore me down. And I went and did one class. And at the end of the class, he was like, so what'd you think? And I went, when do I sign up? He was like, I knew it. So it's a transformative thing. And I stopped it for a couple of years because I got in my own head about my progress. And I went and did some other martial arts because now I have to have exercise and martial arts in my life. But I missed jujitsu. I missed the fellowship you have with other people. The training. I can go to Poughkeepsie, New York, and I can go to a jiu-jitsu gym there and train, and it's going to be close to what I do here. It's the same people there are going to be complete strangers to me, but at the end of the training session, they will be my best friends.
Right.
Uh, I'm never the same person walking off the mat as I am when I walk. I'm always a changed person. I'm always different. I'm a better person. Um, it's just that people, we all have the same hard training. We've all bled. We've all sweated. We've snotted on the other person. We've been snotted on. We've had someone's blood pour down on our face. And the gag in jujitsu is if you have blood on your gi, like, hey, you got blood on you. It's not mine. Okay, let's just keep going. I've been choked out where I lost conscience, but it was only 2 minutes into the roll. So I looked at the clock and I'm like, all right, let's keep going. Let's finish that roll.
Right.
We've all done it. And the majority of people that do jujitsu, this is the reason I love it. They don't do it to be able to have this power over someone else. They don't do it so they can be a badass or a hard case, and just to be able to take someone out. They do it to control this, which is what I do it for. I do it to block out everything that goes on, especially these days. I don't have alcohol to turn all that off. So I have jujitsu. I have my friends that I go and I'm able to roll with. And you want to roll? Yeah. And it can be a light roll, it can be a hard roll. But at the end of it, you're completely different. You're sweating. You're thanking your friend for them almost breaking your arm and they didn't. You're like, wow, how did you almost break my arm? Show me that technique. It's the weirdest thing in the world, and I'm completely addicted to it. And I can do it until I'm 70 and 80. That's the other thing I like about it. You can't do a lot of striking arts when you get older. With this, you really can. You can do it for as long as you.
Okay. Okay. That's a good lesson to know, actually. I wanted to ask you that whether your music lessons or music life has anything to any kind of lesson that you actually learned from music that you can actually employ in martial art. But I don't know whether that's legitimate question because you are doing martial art since 9. So
Yes. Well, but it isn't art. It's the key word is art.
right.
It's same as with music. Music is a skill set, a sequence of notes. Most martial arts in jiu-jitsu with this respect,
That's fascinating. Yes.
it's an art, and it's my professor Jackson. He does things differently than other black belts because of his body shape and his brain.
Okay.
And there are guys who are bigger than me or my size, but they also will do things different.
Of course.
I'm what's called a guard puller. I pull guard, pull people under my guard, and I work from there. And other people are passers. They like to let people try that, and then they pass them, and then they get past them, and they exert more top control because that's just where their head is. My head is not in being in the top game right now. It's the same as bass. Right now, I'm just playing surf music. In a year, I could change to I want to play jazz, or I want to play some prog metal, or I want to do this, I want to do that. Like with jiu-jitsu, it's a sequence of moves that you have to make at the correct time. You have to train your body to manipulate someone else's body. Well, I've trained my body but to manipulate an instrument, in a certain pattern, how my brain thinks. I play bass differently than some bass players. I'm more of a I'm left-handed, but I'm more of a right-handed bass player, meaning I think more rhythmically. I want to set up a good rhythm and not be so all over the neck with flashy notes and things like this. No, I would rather make the band sound good from the bottom. So I worry more about the kick drum, which is more of a right hand rhythm aspect.
Okay.
With bass, it's Your left hand is the guitar, your right hand is the drums, and then you're in between. Does that make sense? You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Yep.
Left hand is the chords with the guitar player, and the right hand is what the drummer's doing.
Okay.
And I tend to lean more towards the drummer, but that's just me. I've got good friends of mine who are think more melodically, and they're beautiful players. Um, take that to jujitsu. I was rolling with a friend of mine, Rob Marito, who's a fantastic player. He's a jujitsu player, and his brain is so quick and so fast. He loves to get out of guard and work on you from top. And just you're like, okay, I'm out. He's so good. He's so fast. He's so quick. There are other guys who a good friend of mine named Shane Qualls. We call him the bendable freak. He does carny crap on us all the time. He's incredibly bendable, and he can use his legs in weird ways to choke you out. He likes to use your own lapel to choke you out. He kept doing it to me today, and that bastard, I wanted to choke him, but he wouldn't let me. So he kept choking me before I could choke him. And that's the thing, is he loves to use his lapel or your lapel, and he'll wrap it around your throat. That's just what he sees.
Interesting.
It is, and it's kind of, and I don't see it. I don't see those things, but I do certain things that certain people don't see. Yet it doesn't make any of us better than the other one.
Right.
It makes us all better at one thing, but maybe not so good at another. And so then we show each other. We sit there and we hash it out, and I go, all right, how did you do that? Well, I did this, and then you tapped. Or we will sit, and it's just the most fantastic thing I've ever been part of, and it's a great school. And it's not our professor won't necessarily teach a lot of techniques. He will teach the technique, but he teaches you the reason behind it, the concept.
Okay.
So if you try to go technique with everything, okay, it's going to come out of your mind. But if you know the concept behind it, it's the same thing as if you enter into a store, right?
Right.
And I'm going, all right, Sam, go to the bathroom. Okay, how? Well, then you have to find your way to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Or like, do this, take a left right here. I'm sorry. You go in and just take a left or right, whatever, and then you end up at the bathroom. Instead of me saying, Sam, go to the bathroom. Oh, okay. Then you figure out how to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Where it is. You know what I mean? Or the kitchen or anything.
Right.
So our instructor will tell us the technique, but then he'll tell us the concept. Like, this is your goal for it. Like, oh, so that way we understand what we're doing, not just why. We understand why, not just what.
Right. Yes. Yep.
So it's a really cool way of learning jiu-jitsu that we haven't been exposed to yet. So it's really good. And I think the retention level has been fantastic. Everyone's really been loving him,
That's a really good way to say it, actually, because I do definitely agree with you on that. And almost all aspects that you actually said, all aspects that you talked about, that is true. That if you actually show the final destination and have a plan for the technique will differ from one person to another, as you mentioned just now, from your friend and you. But you are achieving the same goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he leaves it to that individual person, and that way they can express their art. He was like, you're not going to be me. So I can just show you these things, and you can be yourself. You can absorb it. I teach you how I do it. We don't have the same body shapes.
Yeah.
He's like, why would you do it the way I do it? I have to show you. He shows us how he does it, but I might do something different because my body is longer than his, or I'm skinnier than him.
Yeah.
I think differently than him. I frustrate the hell out of him because being left-handed, I learned everything wrong. than everybody else in class.
Okay,
And
got it, got it. Okay.
I frustrate the
I
crap
was
out of
actually
them.
thinking that what kind of jiu-jitsu player you are, whether right-handed or left-handed. So you are actually a left-handed jiu-jitsu player.
I am. Well, yeah, I am left-handed. Like my guitar player, my singer Vaden. He and I are both left-handed, but we play normal. We don't play like Jimi Hendrix this way. We play
Okay,
like that.
right.
That's my dominant hand. So I'm always attacking people's left sides.
Okay,
So
right.
because
Right.
of my left hand,
Yes, yeah.
and it's more people are getting attacked on their right side because they go to their right. So it's a small advantage, you know. It doesn't mean I get by with a lot in class because they all see it coming now and they know, like, all right, this goofy idiot's attacking me with his left hand again, so I'm going to get out of this.
Right.
They see it coming. They know what I'm going to
Yeah,
do.
because
But
they know your style and which your dominant side as well.
they know me. They've been training with me for years. And that's the thing, you get caught in one thing. I'm stuck in a horrible route right now of one kind of game and trying to get out of that. And it's really hard. You have to retrain your brain to think differently. But you fall into your old habits and your old patterns. So that's part of the growing process, though,
Right.
of trying to get out of it, learn something new, and not be afraid to, have the crap kicked out of you, and just to try something different. So there's that. It's a constant growing process. No one ever gets promoted. Like, oh God, I got promoted. I'm a badass now. It's like it's imposter syndrome. Like, I'm a purple belt now. I'm a blue belt. But I knew when I got my blue belt, like, oh God, I'm gonna get murdered. Not only from white belts that one think they can murder me, but now all the blue belts are gonna murder me. I know the purple and brown and black belts are gonna murder me. I'm fine with that. It's gonna happen. They're gonna do it. But it's the whites and the blue belts that come for you. Like, ah. And when you advance, it adds another level of people that are just going to murder you because you got promoted. Like, oh, cool. Welcome to purple. Well, you're going to get an ass beating like you've never had before, right? Yep. Okay. So I'm probably a ways away from that particular purple ass beating, I guarantee. But I get my ass beat enough, just being a blue belt. So it's like, why do it? It's a really weird thing, but I like to do it because of the people I'm with. It's no one there wants to dominate someone. They're trying to learn. They're just even if they tap you, they don't care that they tapped you. They just know that, oh, the technique worked. It's not this, haha, I tapped you. No one thinks that way. It's
Right.
Cool. That technique worked enough where you tapped. Next one. Now let me work on this, and I know there are some schools that they do have that domination thing, but not us. We don't have that. It's like a science lab at my school.
Right.
Everybody's always working on something, and if you get tapped, like, cool, how did you do that? And you show me how you did that. Like, yeah, I did this and this, So it's jiu-jitsu. It's the best thing on the planet. I recommend to anybody go do it. It'll change your life.
Fascinating. That's thank you for that
Of course.
unpacking of that whole concept actually, and the philosophy as well. So I think that is actually coming from a person who is artistic. So I think you are looking at it from the artistic and music perspective. That's
Yes.
what I feel. And
Yeah.
you are unpacking in such a way that people can learn a very different aspect of jiu-jitsu in compared to fighting and grappling and all those things. So
Yes.
so this is very helpful. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Of course. No, thank you. I appreciate you, Sam. Thank you.
So I think we are almost at the end, and
Okay.
I was wondering that what is your you already told me that you grew up with Led Zeppelin and hard rock. So
Yes.
currently, do you have or is there any song or any music or any kind of album or group that is your favorite, like all-time favorite?
Oh, The Who, hands down. My brother will agree with me. That's his favorite band of all time. My dad was always playing them. And my brother, if anyone has seen live shows of him, he's he has recreated Pete Townsend. Pete Townsend is always his biggest influence. Guys like him and Angus Young, um, and it was just we saw them. They were aggressive. We liked the Beatles at that point. Now I love the Beatles. At that point, we were getting into it. The Who were far more aggressive than the Beatles. They didn't have "She Loves You," yeah, yeah. They didn't have Eleanor Rigby. They had My Generation. They had a bass solo in it. You know, they had a rock opera about a deaf, dumb, and blind boy. They had "Won't Get Fooled Again." They had so many of their songs had this energy, and then you see live video of them, and they're destroying their instruments. Townsend's smashing his guitar. Keith Moon is destroying his drums. And all the while, John Entwistle is sitting there playing bass, not moving. His fingers are moving more than anything else. And it was just their visual aspect of the Who. And then they weren't just like a one chord wonder. They weren't just like a freak show, like, oh, we know we're going to go pay and see these guys destroy their instruments. They backed it up with amazing songs, amazing albums, amazing singing. The talent in the band was incredible. It's just that when they played live, they couldn't take it and they had to destroy things. They were the progenitors of punk. All the punk musicians hated the Rolling Stones. They hated Led Zeppelin. They hated the Beatles. They hated Yes, Genesis, all of that. But when it came to the Who, they were like, they're good. They're all right. We'll give them a pass. They didn't talk. They talked shit about every rock band except the Who. The Who were like, they're good. We're not going to talk shit about the Who. The Who were okay. They were the only ones that got a pass.
Wow.
And because they walked it, they talked it. They were huge rock stars, but in all their songs, Townsend was questioning, why am I a rock star? What is it to be a rock? What is it to do this life? What is it? He was always asking questions. He wasn't just, oh, me and my baby are doing this or talking about this or another love song. He was always questioning things, holding a mirror up to people, coming up with great concepts. I think Quadrophenia was about a person that had four separate personalities, and he wrote a rock opera about that. They were just a fascinating band, that's stayed with us today. It's still mine and my brother's favorite band of all time. We got a lot of favorite bands, but the Who are the biggest influences on us, hands down.
Thank you for
They're always going to win that fight.
Thank you
the Who against everybody. Yeah. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much.
And appreciate. I was now wondering that if you would like to share something about toadies or their tours. Of course, I will actually put the description and the link
Okay.
in the description. Actually, the link in the description so
Great.
that everybody can know.
Okay.
But if you would like to talk about it, you can. It's up to you.
Sure. We made a new record that's coming out, I think, next year called The Charmer. We're figuring out who's going to put that out. We made that with Steve Albini, that produced the Pixies and Nirvana. He did their last record In Utero. Just a great, fantastic engineer that we always wanted to work with. So we got the chance to do that. That's coming out next year. This year I put out another surf instrumental record under a band called the Tulsa Doom. That's my friend Noah put that out on Otitis Media. and which I'm forever grateful him doing it. You know, it's the first time I wrote a record all myself. So that way, if it sucks, I can't blame anyone. Like, no, I'm responsible for all that crappiness. That's all on me. So 100% of that garbage is this guy right here. But that record that came out, it's all instrumental. I love instrumental music. I kind of think it kind of stems from classical. You can get your point across with instrumental where you don't have to, you can listen to the song and it might mean something 100% different to you than it means to me.
Right.
And I'm not telling you with lyrics, you know.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of it, and they can be ambiguous. Lyrics can be ambiguous, you know.
Right.
They all are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with instrumental music, it's definitely ambiguous. You're not being led anywhere. It's can go back to any kind of memory you had as a kid or make you feel happy, feel sad. No one's
That's
dictating
true.
the mood to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That's what I like. It's no one's dictating and setting the. They're not setting, you know, the table for you. You know, you're doing
Right.
it yourself. Pretty much with instrumental music, that's just what I prefer.
Got
But
it.
that record came out, so that's kind of it. We're going to be playing shows here and there, but until the record comes out, we're kind of laying low. So then we're just going to go on tour and
Okay.
be
That's
busy all over again. You know, that's it. That and getting trying to get better every day at jiu-jitsu.
right. Yeah.
That's the goal. You know.
Right.
But thank you again for having me. By the way, Sam, I'm really honored to get to have me. That you asked me
I
to
am the
be
one
on
who is
here.
honored here.
Oh,
Seriously, you
yeah.
have so much depth on a lot of things. Definitely music, but all different aspects of life. So I
Thank you.
really enjoyed talking to you. So for
I
the
have as well. Thank you.
for the audience, I would put the Toadies website link in the description. They have all the tours and the album information over there. So please visit. And if you like it, definitely go to the tours or go attend the tours, attend the music concerts that they are going to have. So that would be a great experience for sure. Definitely more than what we actually had right now, because we practically we didn't sing. That's why.
It's good. It's good I didn't sing. I play bass for a reason. Trust me.
Thank you for staying with us till the end. If you have any questions, please write down the comments below. If you have any comments, please write down those as well. Please share this video with your music lover friends and family. Next time, we will meet with another guest for an enticing conversational adventure. Till then, take care.